Questions on this for us or for the other folks?
What are your numbers show you expect will take?
Well, we have, as we said, been fairly successful in getting people vaccinated here already. We've got basically 2/3 of our population has had at least one dose and 80% of adults. So we have a slightly smaller window that we're trying to succeed on here. But in both Ohio and California, which are the two states that we've talked to, that this has done three things for them. And the governor of Ohio made this pretty clear. He said, first of all, it created a lot more visibility around getting vaccinated generally. And they use a retail system, same as we do. And the amount of visibility that came, not just from the announcements on this, but some of the marketing that will be done by the lottery, which will be pretty significant and pretty grassroots, will put the vaccine and the opportunity to get it right in front of a lot of people who go into and traffic a lot of the sites where lottery tickets are sold. So a lot more visibility, a lot more publicity. Second thing was they did start to see pickup rates among some of the populations they'd had a really hard time reaching, especially sort of young people, mostly men, between the ages of about 20 and 40, which is a tough population for us as well as it was for them. They saw significant increases there. They also saw a lot of parents who were interested in the scholarship program who use this as a mechanism to encourage their kids who may have not wanted to get vaccinated. But it's hard to compare exactly how much uptick we would see relative to them. Ohio was significantly lower than we were in terms of the number of people they had vaccinated when they did this. But it did create a sustained increase over several weeks. I mean, I think it was almost a month after they put it in place. So now, if we could get that, that would matter a lot. That could be worth hundreds of thousands of people.
Can you explain how it's going to work? How does a vaccine lottery work? Do you show your card? Do you get the shot? How does all of it work? Like, if you could explain it.
Well, I think I know how to explain that, but I may want to let somebody else do it. You want to take a crack at it, Mike?
So in essence, as the governor and state treasurer mentioned, the lottery has a great deal of familiarity with drawing numbers and integrity around games. In this particular case, what we'll use is a standardized equipment referred to commonly in the lottery industry as a random number generator. And so however many people actually register on the site, we'll use that as the universe of possible numbers to be selected. Unlike some lottery games, clearly there will be a winner on each draw, and that draw will only come from that universe of numbers that have been submitted based on each person who's actually registered for the site. And we'll follow our normal routine as far as our software goes and equipment, as well as how we audit the process and monitor the process. So we have all that experience already built in, and we'll be doing the similar type of process throughout this.
Does it matter when you got vaccinated?
So now we found the part people really want to
Yeah, does it matter when you got vaccinated? Like if I got vaccinated in February, could I enroll? And if I win, could I remain anonymous?
Yes, so my understanding is it does not matter when an individual was vaccinated. If you've been previously, you have to register. And as far as anonymous, part of this process will require the individual who wins for their name to be publicly disclosed. And that is typical in any lottery situation.
And how will you confirm that a person actually has been vaccinated?
Secretary.
As you can see, it's a partnership. So once the potential individual is identified, so when you opt in, so when you put the information in, you will indicate that we can contact you for verification purposes, including not just your CDC card, but other information so that we can validate that you received your 2 doses in Massachusetts. So at the time that you opt in and register, you will allow us to be able to contact you so that we can validate and verify that you are a lawful resident of the Commonwealth, that you have your 2 doses, and the documentation so that we can verify that you are one of the lucky winners.
Secretary Sutters, are we still having regions that are relatively, relative to the rest of the country, the rest of the state, struggling with vaccination
So we are, again, we are overall pleased, right, where we are in Massachusetts as compared to certainly the rest of the country. And in New England, we should all be very glad we all live in New England. We continue to put out the data all the time. There is no county now that has less than 50% of individuals 18 plus with at least one dose. And so we are really working very locally. We're sort of referring to it as like really hyper-focused on those communities where we need to continue to address vaccine hesitancy and bring vaccines as close as possible, both through what was the homebound program is now the in-home program. So we will literally bring vaccines to your home, as well as the temporary and pop-up sites and the like. So we see this really as now leaning in all tools in the toolkit.
Secretary Sutters, Black and Hispanic rates are getting vaccinated at lower rates than people who are white. And so is this an effort to target those populations as well?
So again, all of our tools are really for all the populations in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. As we roll out both the opt-in and the website and the like will be in English and Spanish, of course. And again, trying to address, the good news in Massachusetts, again, the progress in Massachusetts is we're building on a good platform here. So it's 46% of individuals who are Black in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts have at least one dose, and 44% of individuals who are Latinx. So, we want those as high as possible, of course. So this is one strategy in addition to we're continuing to work in the equity communities, and we're going to continue those contracts through the summer of really doing, as you've heard me talk about it before, vaccine canvassing door to door and really bringing vaccines very local to those neighborhoods.
Where's the money coming from? Pre-existing lottery funds?
No, we talked to the legislature about, this is a purpose that the Treasury has said in DC that you can spend ARPA money on, and we talked to the legislature about that.
And $6.5 million between scholarships and the $500,000 scholarships, $1 million.
I think that's right, but we'll make sure Terry gets back to you with the hard number.
Sorry, Joe.
I thought it was a little more than that, but.
Ohio, did they talk about the type of person? I know you gave us an age bracket, but who would be enticed just the fact that you win money? Is it really changing their minds? Or is it just like you said, more just, hey, we're still doing this, maybe the best time?
I think it was a little bit of both. I mean, when I talked to Governor DeWine, his basic message was that he does believe that there were folks that just didn't feel in their mind that they had a good reason to go get vaccinated. They had already had COVID and it hadn't really affected them very much. They were young and didn't know anybody who'd had a problem with it. Their parents had already gotten vaccinated. I mean, I think in some respects, for some people who don't necessarily view this as a threat to them personally, it's a reason to get vaccinated. And given given some of the news about some of the new variants and all the rest, I really do think we always had a goal of getting 4.1 million people vaccinated. And if you add the federal numbers to our numbers, we're probably pretty close to that now. But more is better here. And I think the more people we can get vaccinated, the better. And I do believe that the places that have tried this, particularly if they've marketed it aggressively and taken advantage of a lot of the on-the-ground marketing capabilities that lotteries have generally, they can just put it in front of more people as an opportunity.
Do you have a new number that you're looking for? 4.1 is achievable.
More. The new number is more. Yeah.
Governor, you talked about how Ohio was in worse shape as far as the numbers went for vaccines. So I was curious what made you reach this point that you think now is the time for vaccinating?
Well, we had a goal of getting to 4.1, and we've pretty much gotten there. But the variants, I think, make this the kind of thing where we should do everything we can to get as many people vaccinated as we possibly can and not stop. And as Secretary Sutter said, we're going to keep running a lot of those pop-up programs all the way through the summer and into the fall. We're going to keep working in those disproportionately affected communities to continue to try to get folks access to vaccines there. The homebound program, as she said, is now basically the home delivery program. And I think from our point of view, it's just, we shouldn't stop. We just do everything we possibly can. Especially, remember, the 12 to 19-year-old population is still a relatively recent arrival to being eligible for this, and we would love to get as many of them vaccinated as we possibly can over the course of the summer.
Last question.
Governor, for the safe emergency
I do think, I mean, you now have a House proposal, something passed the Senate, you have a House proposal that I think is going to get debated today, right? My hope and anticipation is that some point in the next few days we'll get a bill from them, and that will sort of settle some of the concerns people have here. For today's purpose, we'll obviously post some of the Attorney General's office guidance around open meeting rules and laws, and I know they're going to do it. We've talked to them about making sure that they post and that they're available to talk to local officials. I think the big challenge will be just the bumpiness of the next couple of days until something actually gets to our desk. The one thing I would say on the restaurant piece, because this is important, the restaurants have 60 days, okay? I mean, the change that we made was really about a 60-day question. And so starting today, it's 60 days before communities and restaurants have to do anything with respect to what they've already put in place under the existing law as it stands now.
So is it mostly open meeting laws?
Yes. Yeah, well, I mean, you talked about the two big takeout issues, cocktails to go and the pricing model associated with delivery. For today, those are no longer in place.
Well,
Maybe
is
we
that,
can
do you
comment
think,
on
Governor,
the bottom of the president's decision to ask for the death penalty to come back?
I said a long time ago that I thought Tsarnaev should face the death penalty, so I would agree with the Biden administration on that one.
Governor, just if you could clarify, so take out cocktails and that sort of thing, so that ends now.
Yeah.
So do you think lawmakers kind of dropped the ball and missed an opportunity here
I think that
by missing this deadline? I mean,
I hope and anticipate that we'll get something from them shortly. I do think this is a very much on the minds of everybody priority. We've talked to them about we've talked to both branches about this several times. There's obviously been a ton of incoming that they've been dealing with on both sides of these issues, and I know that because I've seen many of your report on that fact. So I think for them, landing in a place they were comfortable with on those issues required a little bit of engagement with the affected constituencies. I do hope that we get something in a few days so that we can just sort of put this to bed.
Thanks, everyone. Quickly, is there a residency requirement? I mean, what if someone from New Hampshire got their vaccine?
No, you got to be a resident of Massachusetts.
And the drawings won't be streamed in any way, we just post them online or?
You got to come talk into the.
I know it's not gonna be like a big thing where you pick Powerball numbers, it's just trying to.
Yeah, we're working through that aspect of it now, so please stay tuned. We'll have that by the end of this week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, folks. And by the way, congratulations to all the members of the media. There's some new faces here, okay? But most of you have been sitting in all of these exact same chairs hundreds of times over the course of the past 15 months. And in the midst of a world of tremendous uncertainty and a ton of stuff we didn't know and facts constantly changing left and right, believe it or not, for me, there was a little bit of comfort in knowing that when I came into this room, I could expect he's now sitting in Steve Brown's seat, I could expect that certain people would be sitting in exactly the same place. And for me, it was a one little piece of normalcy in my days. So thank you. I appreciate that.
It's great to see your face.
Yeah, really, that too.